It's Tuesday, October 12th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Boggle Boggle. Let's do this.
Waka waka waka.
No.
I don't know why we thought that was a good idea for a title.
Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know. It just seems odd.
What's odd about it?
Boggle Boggle?
Yeah.
Why not just say it once? It's like Arakawa under the bridgy.
Yeah. And because one of our most popular episodes was
Bargle Bargle.
Exactly.
So exactly 47 hours ago, I stopped drinking caffeine.
Alrighty.
Not permanently. I decided. I did a bunch of research.
Well, what's the point if it's not permanently?
Well, because I got bored and I was reading something over lunch, and I learned a lot. This was last week about caffeine and the effects on the body, and the fact that once you build up a tolerance, it takes 48 hours, almost exactly on average, to reach the peak withdrawal symptoms.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, by 5 days, all effects of caffeine are reversed, and you're back to normal, and your tolerance is 0.
Uh-huh.
So it's been a long time since I've experienced what caffeine does when you don't have a tolerance for caffeine.
Uh-huh.
So basically, it's kind of like, remember back
It's hard to avoid, though, because, I don't drink coffee or soda, but, if you eat a Hershey's chocolate bar, that's it.
There's so little, it doesn't,
I'm
basically
just
doesn't
saying,
count.
it's it's like you got to get 0, otherwise you got to add a few hours,
Yeah, but I am right now at the peak of caffeine withdrawal, something I've not experienced in like 4 or 5 years.
Now, what does it feel like?
It feels like a pounding headache.
Really?
That will not cease.
Yeah, you really have a big headache?
I have a crazy headache.
Did you take a Tylenol?
No, fuck that.
That's right.
I'm going to man up.
That's right.
Actually, I'm going to take some aspirin right after the show. Yeah? There's no aspirin tolerance. But I'm interested to see because caffeine is a performance enhancer in many ways. But if you're a habitual user, it has it's like a pro and con thing. It's like a min-max. Like in Fallout, when you take like the one medicine that gives you one thing but hurts you another way, like the rads.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to clear out my rads. Much like, I think you've done this once or twice. Remember the high school or college days when you'd have the plan of, if I don't masturbate for like a day, then it'll be way awesome when I do finally masturbate.
No.
No, you never saved up?
No.
No?
No.
You just masturbated every day?
No. I just do whatever I felt like it. And I'd feel like it, and then I wouldn't feel like it.
I don't know. Sometimes I have those days where I just always felt like it.
No, that's because you got some heat.
Or I was just bored. Like when the WAN servers were down.
I just played some video games that weren't WAN.
Like what? I guess Tribes.
I watched some animes. All right. So I got some news here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So, we saw at PAX Sonic 4, and it was looking pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it looks like they finally got rid of the stretchy werewolf and just went back to Sonic runs around.
Well, they got two
game.
games, actually, that are coming out. Sonic 4, which is a 2.5D. It's like the old school Sonic side-scrolling game, but it's 2.5D. And that's what I've been asking for. I've been like, and Nintendo sort of did it. It's like, look, you have these old 2D games. Just make the exact same game, only make it 2.5D. Use a 3D game engine, but just keep the camera to the side and move it, don't move it in or out.
Or occasionally do something clever.
Occasionally, but keep that light. You don't want, you still want it to be fundamentally a side-scrolling game.
Even in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you could throw the dude at the screen.
Exactly. All right, that's perfectly fine. And you can make some really good games, with the easiness of 3D engines and the good-looking graphics without having to do sprites like the old days with the pixels, right? And, it'd be really awesome. So they did that. They're coming out with Sonic 4, which is that. They're also coming out with Sonic Colors. And Sonic Colors is basically the werewolf game without the werewolf part, from what we can tell. What's interesting is what they're doing is they're basically telling all the stores, to try to take all the other Sonic games off the shelves. Right? So that the only Sonic games on the shelves once these games come out. There's also a Kinect Sonic free writing game, and I think Sonic 4 is also coming to DS, or something's coming to DS. I don't know. They're basically trying to say, hey, get these old games off the shelves so that only the good Sonic titles will be on the shelf. That way, if they can maintain the quality, and keep only quality Sonic stuff available.
So how are they going to get them off the shelves?
They basically say, hey, don't sell these anymore, or return them, or sell them now before the new ones come out.
Yeah, but no one buys them anyway. There's a reason they're on the shelves.
Right. But, they'll get into the discount
Kind
bin
of like, remember
and-
that GameStop we went to in Wildwood that had like 5 tables full of Madden games?
Yeah, I mean, they'll at least get them into the discount bin and off the rack, right? So that way, hopefully, over time, the people will get a better impression of Sonic, and they won't dilute the franchise if all the Sonic games on the shelves are good, and they keep that way.
It's hard to say. I mean, gamers
It'll take a
care.
while. It'll take a while.
Gamers care, but this could only affect people who are not hardcore gamers and don't know anything.
Yeah.
Because anyone who knows anything will either know what they did or will know, yes, the new Sonic games are better and I play those. Or maybe I prefer the old shitty Sonic games because I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, I mean the quote here from the person who works for SEGA is, "We could make a lot of money on back catalog Sonic titles, but let's keep the number of Sonic games available under control. Otherwise, you can have cannibalization. If there are 10 Sonic games on the shelves with people seeing Sonic Rush DS or Sonic Rush Adventure, this may not help our overall strategy, which is to make Sonic stop sucking." And it looks like, at least from these previews of Sonic 4, I mean, I'm going to get Sonic 4, and it's actually the episodicness of it, while sort of annoying, has a benefit in that I can try it out for less money than the whole game to see if it's any good, and that I don't have to buy the rest of the levels and
At
such
the same time,
if it sucks.
Wasn't there the demo problem we learned about at the previous packs? Where if there is a short demo of a game available, sales tend to collapse because people realize, oh, that's what that game is. I don't need to play anymore.
But there might not be. The thing is, this isn't a demo. This is you buy. That's like saying, oh man, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, I guess no one will buy that if there's a demo called Half-Life 2, but Half-Life 2 is not free. So so your demo's not free, so you're still making money off all the people who buy the first part. So, and then maybe one day they'll buy the second part, way later.
My only concern is, are there any details on how they're trying to get these old Sonic games off the shelves? Because I already
stop printing them and stop releasing new ones. That way,
that's fine. That's fine. But the thing is, what do you do with the GameStop that has every Sonic title in a giant pile?
I'm sure they'll stay in a giant pile until the GameStop doesn't know what to do.
See, what I'm curious, because I wonder if they're going to pull strong arm tactics like a lot of manufacturers do with Amazon, where they pull that BS where you see a thing in Amazon and it's like, the MSRP is X. The real price we can't show you unless you add it to your cart. But then when you add it to your cart, you see what the real price is.
Yeah, that's what happened with some of the TVs I was looking at.
Yep. However, notice how Amazon changed it now. Instead of having to add it to your cart, you click show me the price and it quote unquote adds it to your cart.
No, it depends on the item. There are some items you can click show me the price, and some you actually have to go proceed to checkout all the way.
I haven't seen that in a long time. It was a recent change.
Mm-hmm.
Because almost all of the audio and video equipment I'm looking at, Amazon's selling way under MSRP.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right.
Because, Project ST's coming along, and I'm looking at HD cameras. Luckily, Amazon reviews saved me from buying one that was really cheap and really awesome looking.
But it wasn't good.
It was like a Canon one. It was like $600. It looked super good for
what we
like
need.
the
HV40 whatever?
I forget. All I remember is
I heard that one's good.
It had everything we needed except its medium and low light performance was the worst. If the light is low.
But don't we have lights?
Yeah, but even then, we need a good camera. It was way under way cheaper cameras in bad light. But it was great if you have awesome light.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So what you got over there?
Well, we were at the Burning Convention over the weekend.
You want to talk about the Burning Convention?
I want to talk about the Burning Convention because it was...
Did you get burned?
I got burned once because with the New York Comic Con and all the other stuff going on, I did not technically register to play games. So I was not going to show up and manhandle my way into a game that someone flew from Seattle to be there to play.
Yeah. I think there was at least one guy from the UK, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting. Basically, Friday we went to the New York Comic Con New York Anime Festival. We'll talk about that another day.
Yep. Some Wednesday forthcoming.
Yeah, I will say though, this is gaming related, that I forgot that Inafune, the creator of Mega Man, well, one of the, effectively creator of Mega Man, it was obviously a team effort, right? Was there, and that was the only thing I forgot about and did not see. I could have gone to chill with him at the Capcom booth, whatever. I'm sure I'll see him again someday.
There was also the fact that WotC was there, and I did not realize, I don't even know when they announced it. I'm just so disconnected from WotC's BS. They have D&D Gamma World.
That's what everyone's talking about lately.
And I looked at the mechanic, as far as I can tell.
It's D&D, but Gamma World.
Yeah, it's literally, hey, you thought Gamma World was cool, right? well, we're going to put all the Gamma World proper nouns on top of your shitty same old Dungeons and Dragons.
That's exactly all they do is they sell a book that has different proper nouns. That's all they do.
It's brilliant in a way.
Yeah. I mean, they do change some numbers, right? They have to be like, okay, look, instead of sword, it's slime laser, and it does not a D8 damage, it does a D6.
No, it does a
3.
D8, but you have this special D8 that you got to buy. There's a picture of a laser on it.
Whatever.
I'm waiting for that day.
But yeah, I went to the Comic-Con. I took Friday off. I went to the Comic-Con MMA Festival on Friday, so I had Saturday and Sunday free to go to the Burning Con all day, both days, and I played in every session except the final one because I was too tired.
Yep, I remember Emily and I got back, and you were just like passed out on that couch.
Yeah.
See, that was part of the reason why I decided to give up caffeine for a while, because at the con, I drank like 4 Red Bulls.
Whoa, that's too many.
And then I felt the Red Bull running out as we were hanging out on that couch, and I was just done.
You know what you should do? So wait, so when was the last time you had a caffeine?
47 and a half hours ago.
All right, you should call Conrad and challenge him to who can rack up more consecutive no caffeine hours. Because maybe if it's a game,
Might have to go into minutes.
I'm just saying we can get it. You know,
I think if I called Conrad and pointed and
what if you
suggested
got
this,
would it be fair to have a taurine, no sugar, but no caffeine beverage?
Yeah, but what would not be fair is drinking like guarana, because that just metabolizes into caffeine.
Really interesting.
That's how I learned a lot about caffeine.
Uh-huh.
But it is a performance enhancer, and it decreases the risk of Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up.
Alrighty.
Anyway, I do want to point out with the Comic-Con, though, and the gaming stuff, I kind of got on my caffeine tangent there because it's kind of on my mind because of this blazing headache.
That's fine. You deserve it.
Is that WotC? It's weird how the perceptions of this con from us as like performers and people who work with the people on the back end went, because before it was like, yeah, double con, we'll do like 5 or 6 panels, all our awesome stuff. And it looked like gaming was going to be a huge part, because there was a lot of gaming at the New York Comic Con in previous years.
The biggest gaming was there was a Square Enix booth, which had a bunch of the anime fans pretty thrilled, right? And there was a Capcom booth, which was really the best, and because they had Marvel vs. Capcom 3 showing off, which got all the that's definitely the game for a Comic Con.
There was good art around that.
You know what I found
too.
out about Marvel vs. Capcom 3?
What'd you find out?
It has simple mode. You know how simple mode works?
Mega Man wins no matter what.
There's an attack button. There's a special move button, and there's another button. And
I think I could be good at that.
So all you do is...
So, Scott, no. Fast forward to like a year from now, we've got this game.
Mm-hmm.
You go online to play simple mode, and some dude still just kicks our asses into the ground.
Well, apparently in simple mode, you only have access to a couple special moves. It's basically like playing Smash Brothers, right? And when you play non-simple mode, you have a lot more moves available to you. But it's not simple. So.
But while there was gaming stuff, prior to the con, and based on previous Comic Cons, like gaming, because it's a thriving, vibrant industry, appeared like it was going to be a really big part of the Comic Con. Like originally, we were talks, they were like, "Yeah, run all those awesome gaming panels you run at PAX because we really want to ramp up the gaming." And as the con got bigger and bigger, and eventually it did sell out on Saturday. It was a freaking enormous con. I think the hierarchy of industries at the very bottom is fan-produced anime-related stuff. At that con, the bottom of the bottom was fan anime. The anime artist alley was in the bottom left corner of the Javits.
Yeah, they separated it. I kind of wish it would have been combined. They combined the dealers' rooms, even though the exhibit hall, which was also the dealers' room, right, was segregated. Like all the old school, all the comic retailers in one corner, and all the publishers in another area, and all the toys in another area. The best booth is the Bandai booth.
But the point I want to make is that, so that's the bottom. And above that was, professional anime stuff. And then like indie comics. And then real comics and gaming. And above all of that, far and away, was Hollywood bullshit.
Yep.
Hollywood and TV. Animal Planet had one of the biggest booths in their room.
It wasn't that big, but it was the fanciest.
Yeah.
But it's all go inside. Did you go inside?
I looked outside. There was a video playing. And as far as I can tell, it's promoting a show that is about like searching for Bigfoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that an Animal Planet?
The same reason Animal Planet's primary other programming seems to be
Anyway,
midgets.
we're talking about the Burning Con.
Midgets?
Yeah.
Yeah, midgets.
Let's talk about the Burning Con.
And ghosts.
Okay.
But it was weird that the New York Anime Festival Comic Con was going to have this big gaming presence, and Hollywood just kicked it right to the curb.
Yep.
So we had to get all of our gaming at the Burning Con.
Burning Con was pretty much just play burning games all weekend, and that's exactly what I did. And all the games were awesome to various degrees of awesome.
It was funny to be there. And,
Even the one that I ran. And the weirdest thing that I want to say is that during the course of the weekend, everyone kept talking about this RPG called Apocalypse World, and they keep telling me how awesome it is. And then when I played Free Market, right, I was running it, and they were all talking about this Apocalypse World, and they were like, that guy who just got up from the table was the guy who made it. And I was like, so the guy who made this game everyone was talking about played in my Free Market. And, they seemed like they liked it. So I guess I did a good job.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. I played in one game that was basically, all right, 60 years, there was one of those like rim games where someone makes a weird like setting and you play Burning Wheel in it.
I hate it when people do that. I just want to play straight up.
Half the games there were like that.
I know. I only played in straight up games. I didn't play in any weird hacks or anything.
But it was, all right, it's like 60 years before Sauron and all his bullshit in the Lord of the Rings world, and no man can kill the Witch King, right? So,
well, I mean, yeah, people could.
No man.
It's real hard.
No man.
Okay.
So, knowing that, they form a squad of female assassins, and we went off to try to kill the Witch King.
All right.
We succeeded in killing one Nazgul, and then we ran out of time because it was 1 a.m.
Okay. How about that?
But it was funny to see, Luke, he's there, and all the people are there, and they're so excited. And he gave the keynote. I'm glad that he actually had a keynote and called it a keynote.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he should have done something about that UPS that was beeping throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something he does that often. He's got to build the skills.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But
and there's no better way to build the skills than do it.
The funny part was a lot of people traveled from way away to be here because Burning Wheel, people who get into it are hardcore. Like, you get to a point where you realize, yeah, I'm one of those Burning Wheel people. And to be in a place where it was all hardcore Burning Wheel people and all of them, Luke was basically, it was weird because they were kind of nervous around him. But at the same time, gamers are generally more chill with each other. So they were also chill. So people would be like really, really nervous and like almost hero worshiping Luke. But then like he'd start talking, and then a second later, they're totally chill and just talking with him.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of when we go to an anime con, there's the famous person, and it's just...
He's not Gary Gygax. He lives down the street.
Yeah.
It's like,
he lives down the street from us. Yeah. He doesn't live down the street from everyone.
But it's like they were in his house the night before. It's not like...
Yep. Though we do definitely, I think, we're too used to the fact that if we have a problem, like we have a rules issue, we can just email Luke and he's like, oh, here you go.
Well, no, he sort of gets, I sort of bother him whenever he doesn't like it.
Yeah. Like, Luke, now that I got your attention.
Like, hey, there's a big typo in this page of the book. He'd be like, shut up.
We're trying to do Duel of Wits and this happened. What do we do?
What are you calling me?
All right, it may be a low-energy show, but it's time for Things of the Day.
My thing of the day is Rim's headache. May it grow large. Anyway, so here we go. Check this out. This is what I've always wanted, and I think this actually proves a lot of points I've made in the past. This is a thing called 8-Button StarCraft, and this guy basically made a mod for StarCraft, and it adds this little interface to the top of the screen with 8 buttons on it. And basically what the 8 buttons are is there's 1 button for each of the major unit types in whatever race you've picked, and there are 3 buttons below that, which is attack, retreat, and expand. So you pick a type of creature. So let's say you're the Zerg. You pick Hydralisk, and then you pick expand, and it'll just automatically expand your base in the most efficient way possible and build Hydralisks. And then you click attack, and it'll make the Hydralisk that you have attack in the most efficient way possible. And you don't have to do any micro or anything. And
I want nothing more than to play this. I don't think I'll even bother playing regular StarCraft if I get my hands on this.
This is totally awesome. This is the way to go.
Well, it proves the underlying problem with StarCraft. And on most RTSs, I would argue the entire genre of RTSs as we know them, popular RTSs at least, they're not strategy games. They're like fighting games. You have this top-down view, but they're not that much different from a Soul Calibur or a Street Fighter.
Well, the difference is that the meaning, there are meaningful decisions, right? When do you attack? When do you retreat? When do you expand? How much, that sort of thing. Yep. There are meaningful decisions to be made.
But there are perfectly optimal strategies to enact things like kiting. The fact that I know exactly what I want to do. I want this guy to, do this thing. But the only way to make the game do that is to go click, 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 tap,
Yes,
tap, tap, tap.
there are, is that in order to execute your decision, you have to physically do it. And physically doing it is a solved problem. There is a perfect way to execute. And it's simply a matter of, can you execute it with your hands? You know,
Now, Scott,
otherwise, even though you made the correct decision, it won't happen.
DDR is the same way in some regards. There are some songs, I'm trying to beat all the Max songs on Maniac. And there are some of them that I know exactly what the pattern is.
Yep.
I simply cannot make my feet move fast enough to execute it.
But
Have I
DDR
beaten it? Did I solve it somehow?
DDR is a game of dexterity. It doesn't have the word strategy in the title.
But at least it's a real.
It's Dance Dance Revolution. It's a rhythm game. It claims that you need to be able to dance and have rhythm. StarCraft is a game where you have to craft and have strategy of real time.
At no point do I craft stars.
No, but that's, you know, play Minecraft instead. You'll craft a mine real quick. But yeah, that's, you know, that.
I guess it's not even just that. It's not that, like, if it were like Counter-Strike, I know what to do. Shoot the guy in the head. Shoot the other guy in the head. But the execution of it is difficult, and that's what's interesting. Because the trying to execute
that's the thing is the decision. There is no decision to be made. The decision is always shoot the guy in the head, right? You know, it's one or the other here.
But there's also the decision-making aspects, like go around the corner or not. Do we storm the front, or do we circle around back?
But the execution of that is trivially easy.
Circle around back.
The execution of circling around back is trivially easy.
No, not necessarily. I mean, depending on...
You walk.
No.
And you walk in the right direction.
But no, playing against good players or on a good team, like on a non-pub server, like 8v8. Lately, I've been joining a lot of the pub tournament servers where they run tournament rules, but there's still a pub.
Uh-huh.
And it's much... Counter-Strike is a whole different game on that. If I were younger, I think I would consider clanning again.
All right.
Because it was such a different experience.
Whatever.
But, like, even the execution of circling around back, like, what rate do you go? You know, cover fire, someone covering the hallway while someone moves up to the next cover. It's very procedural. And there's a lot of very kind of, not necessarily tedious, but there's a lot of dexterity-based, minimal elements bit by bit by bit along the way. It's not trivial to execute even something as simple as storm the front. But in StarCraft, not only do you have to do all of that, but it's boring as fuck and completely uninteresting to kite. That is not fun to do. That is an artifact of old games that didn't have the ability to have good AI.
I actually saw some Blizzard, a Blizzard person made some comments, and they were like, they basically, to summarize it and paraphrase, they know this micro. They know they could eliminate it. They thought about eliminating it. They probably even made some tests where it was eliminated.
But South Korea.
Well, no, but they basically said, look, no RTS that ever eliminated micro has increased sales dramatically, so why should we do it?
See, now what I would argue what they should have done.
They should make a different game that is, they should let StarCraft be its hard StarCraft self.
Exactly.
And they should make Warcraft 4 an RTS that's easy. That doesn't have micro. It doesn't have
without micro.
Doesn't have micro, exactly.
Because the thing is, StarCraft is a legitimate kind of game, and while I don't like it, and I will make arguments as to why it's not a good game from a lot of perspectives, it's a perfectly viable, popular game among hardcore people. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that that is the only direction that RTSs have gone in the last decade really bothers me because it's an unexplored. We did a whole panel about this at PAX.
Yeah.
Why don't you just do something cool, do something interesting? Why is no one making an RTS that isn't just the oh my god, spam, click fast, kite, 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 kiki.
Anyway, that's my thing of the day.
That's your thing of the day?
Yeah.
So this is, I think, pretty cool. I love it when people make retro. Like, remember that silent Star Wars?
Uh-huh.
The silent movie Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is like that. It's a 50s horror sci-fi movie trailer to Inception that is actually crazily well done.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the style, and it's actually accurate to the movie. However, spoilers.
Okay.
Old movie trailers spoiled the shit out of things, and in true fashion, this spoils the shit out of Inception.
Alrighty. So, the meta moment.
Oh, you said it. Usually I say it.
Anyway, the meta moment. So, we got...
we have no conventions until MagFest.
Are you sure?
What other convention are we going to?
When is ZenkaiCon?
After MagFest.
All right, it's good.
MagFest is in like January or February.
All right, so that's soon. But there's also holidays, which means there will be holiday type events. Who knows? There is a book club. The book club book is currently World War Z.
I don't want to read that.
By Max Brooks.
You realize since you picked that book, I've read 3 other books because my brain is like, I don't want to.
I haven't started it yet, but I got it. I'm gonna read it soon.
I just like blew through the second Loch Lamora book.
I'm gonna read it soon. All right. I haven't started, but whatever.
By the way, as a total aside for book club interested listeners, remember The Lives of Loch Lamora and how we weren't, we'll see where it goes with the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I will not spoil anything. The sequel proves that the series is not bullshit.
Okay.
The sequel picks up where it should have picked up, and the problem that is introduced is the problem that needed to be introduced.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that, but I was pleased.
Alrighty. So, also, we have a forum and a website, frontrecruit.com.
Oh, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for meta now.
You should go to it, just because people don't. And also...
Though there's been a recent change. In the past, at a con, someone would come and be like, oh my God, you're Rim and Scott, hey. And usually when we ask, hey, are you in the forum? They're like, I read it, but I don't post.
Mm-hmm.
This past weekend, almost everyone I ran into had a forum account and had posted at least a couple of times.
Whoa, all right. But yeah, go to forum, and we also have a Twitter account. It's Geeknights, and we have a thing that's automatically tweeting out links to old episodes once a day. So I know because we only do 2 a week. Maybe you're a relatively new listener. You want to catch up on old shows. It'll sort of alert you of an old episode once a day, so you can use that to keep track of your potting or whatever. And someone requested I make some RSS feeds, so I'm gonna get around to that, and it'll be all good.
Yeah. However, you should bear in mind that we've been doing Geek Nights since 2005.
Some of the old episodes, it's random, remember. I'm not picking these by hand. Quality will vary greatly.
You might get the masturbation episode.
Take a look at the title before you...
You might get the first episode we ever put up on Halloween.
Yeah, you might...
2005.
Look at the episode title before you choose whether or not you're going to listen to it or not.
I realized in the opening of the show, we should probably start saying the year.
Why?
Because we don't say that, and now we've had how many? It's October something.
That's fine.
You can kind of tell by the audio quality, I guess.
I don't think it's a problem.
It might be. We're like, yeah, we're going to be at Otakon next weekend. We're doing these panels.
If anyone, we say we're going to be at Otakon next weekend and someone doesn't go to the Otakon website, they deserve what they get.
Oh, there's some funny, this is total inside baseball Geek Nights meta. I haven't told Scott yet. I was talking to Daryl Surratt, and he pointed out something funny in the Otakon forums.
He pointed it out to me also.
He did? Oh,
yeah.
Well, then I'll leave it at that.
All right.
So, Boggle Boggle.
Yeah, so, I was thinking about the game Boggle because I saw it somewhere.
No. You were like, we had the Bargle Boggle episode, and we needed something, to rhyme. And I was like, Boggle Boggle.
I don't remember.
That's how we decided. I have the chat. I can pull up the transcript of the conversation we had.
I did see a game of Boggle recently, though.
Are you sure that wasn't confirmation bias?
Possibly.
Because if it wasn't, then you know what it is.
Confirmation unbiased.
Synchronicity.
Anyway. So Boggle, it's a game where you take a bunch of cubes, they have letters on them, and you shake up the cubes inside a little plastic box, and then you take the lid off, and you've got a grid of letters, and you try to find as many words that are made up of adjacent letters as you can before the timer runs out.
Orthogonally adjacent.
No, I thought you could also go diagonally.
I always played orthogonal.
I don't know. I thought diagonal was also an option.
If it was, then
Anyway.
I only ever played Boggle like a handful of times when I was a little kid because my grandma had it laying around her house, and my brother and I would find it, play it for like a little while, get bored, and then move on to other things.
I kind of like Boggle better than word search, like a straight up word search on paper that you buy in a book. Because, the word searches that are done on paper, because they're crafted by a human, they're sort of, I think some of them are automated now, but, the old ones used to be human made. You can sort of like figure them out. It's like, oh, there's obviously a word there. There's obviously a word there.
Now. When I was in middle school, a lot of times if there was a substitute teacher or like in, crappy teachers, they'd have an assignment like make a word search with the 10 like vocab terms from whatever.
Okay.
And then trade them with other people. I would basically make mine consist of nothing but all of the words mixed up, spelled slightly incorrectly.
And have no correct spellings anywhere?
So what I would always do, if you're going to point that out, I would make it legit. They were all in there, except one. I'd always leave one out because I'm a dick.
Yeah. But yeah, Boggle is like, It's not a fancy game. It's not a really hard game.
It's barely a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
At best, it's multiplayer in the same way that
It's a racing game in
the
terms
same
of the way it's
that
multiplayer.
yeah. How long does it take you to run a mile? It takes me this long to run a mile. I guess I win.
But, it is actually sort of a quality. For what it is quality, right? You actually need a big vocabulary. You got to have quick eyeball searching skills. You got to, it's actually a skill-based game, and the best person does win unless you cheat.
But at the same time, it primarily I guess if we're going to have a moral to this episode, it's that games that appear on the surface to be very similar actually test very different skills if you don't pay attention.
That's absolutely true.
Which is true of all gaming.
Yeah, Boggle tests vocabulary, but primarily it tests, quick looking.
Final Fantasy tests patience. World of Warcraft tests boredom.
I think they both test patience.
But Boggle really is just, are you not dyslexic? And do you have a large vocabulary of like 3 to 5 letter words?
Well, I mean, sometimes you can find really big words in Boggle and score
pretty
big
rarely,
points.
though, because of the statistical, like the way the dice would fall.
Yeah, that is one thing, is that each die only has 6 letters on it. And so you're not really going to get a whole bunch of alphabet every time. It would be cooler if you had a Boggle where each die was actually a 26-sider, And that way you never knew what was going to show up.
But not only is that not a perfect shape, but there's basically, unless you made it just a cylinder.
You could just digitize it.
Yeah, you could. And it's digital online. And you know what? It looks like it emulates the original physical game.
Really?
The one I found, at
See,
least.
the thing is, the reason that you need to emulate the reason that they did that in the original game is not only because the physical limitations of dice to fit into the slots, but because that way you can get a nice mix of vowels and common consonants, so you can actually get some words every time.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
If you did 26, siders, then it's possible you can get a fuck ton of cues and nothing to do with them and unplayable Boggle configurations.
Random aside, do you know what there are test symbols in the stock market that are not real but have real market data.
Okay.
And one of them is ZVZZT.
Okay. So can I buy some
If you had an account that would let you, yes, you could.
And would it actually be worth anything?
No.
So I can buy it for 0.
Yes.
So I can just send in a thing that says I want to buy all this.
Well,
it would just happen.
It's a little more complicated than that because there's no limit on ZVZT.
Can I buy all the Boggle?
But I'd say Boggle is really just a primitive form of more modern games like Bookworm.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bookworm Adventures is pretty much Boggle plus Worms. Right?
I really liked Bookworm. I played a fuck ton of that.
Well, there were different
RIT.
ones. There was the straight up original one.
Yeah, that's the one I played.
But then there was the adventure questing one where you actually fought monsters.
I didn't play that.
Oh, basically what you would do is the worm would go up to a monster and you'd have to get enough words and big enough ones to kill the monster without getting hurt, and then you would move on a little bit more.
So it's like Typing of the Dead.
Sort of, yeah, but it's Bookworm of the Dead. And there were
Bookworm of the
levels, there was
monster.
experience and levels and leveling up and that sort of thing.
Huh.
But it was sort of tacked on like Puzzle Quest,
Yeah, well,
it wasn't the core.
People
of
have made games like that. It's a neat concept, though. I think a lot of people have fantasized, like I play in Battle Balls, right?
Yep.
Imagine if Battle Balls was just Battle Balls, but at the top was some, like the dragon and the Mount Fuji. We're having this wicked, epic Pokemon-looking fight that was choreographed based on how well you were doing.
Well, that's what Henry Hatsworth was supposed to be. But wasn't, But yeah, I actually think Boggle's a good game. It's a good game to have if you want to whip something out really quickly and you're a very wordy kind of, linguistic, linguophile kind of person. Boggle's a good one. It's small, it's portable. I think they even have Travel Boggle. And it's actually a game of skill.
It's also a good game to make your friends feel really stupid, especially if you've practiced, because if you break it open and figure out what's on all the dice, there's certain words that are very likely to be there, and words that are not
also
likely to be
words
there.
that are likely to be there that are words that people are unlikely to know.
Yep.
And you could be like, yeah, it's a word, and then what you do is you just write your words down on paper while you're playing the game, and at the very end, because of the timer, you can't dispute while the timer's running, you could dispute after you're done, and then someone will be like, that word doesn't count, and then you get the dictionary out, right? And actually, that's what I kind of like about Boggle, is that any challenges or anything weird like that only matter at the end when you have time and it's not a pain in the ass to figure them out.
Of course, I don't mind Scrabble and the way it does it, because with Scrabble, it's more like the challenge in football or something. Like, do I challenge it or not? I have to make the call.
I like that, but it still interrupts the game in Scrabble, which is I don't.
Well, the penalty's not big enough for getting caught, and the reward for catching someone is not big enough.
That's true, and in fact,
it should be like you get punched in the face, and you have to give up a foul.
Well, I mean, look at football, right? In football, if you challenge and you're correct, you just win. You get your challenge, right? If you're challenging you're false, you lose a timeout. In Scrabble, if you challenge falsely, don't you lose a turn? Right? That's a huge penalty.
Not near the end of the game where you don't have shit to play anyway.
That's true, but if you challenge and if you get challenged, all that happens is you take your tiles off the board and you lose a turn.
Are you sure that's all that happens?
I don't know.
You don't know?
That's what I remember. It might not be correct. Someone can correct me.
I mean, it might be a situation like Monopoly where fucking no one knows how Monopoly is actually played.
The penalty for challenging needs to be less than the penalty for actually getting successfully challenged.
I think the penalty for challenging should be pretty high, but the penalty for being caught should be even higher.
That's what I'm saying, right? The penalty for fucking up and getting caught should be a lot worse than the penalty for challenging falsely. That way, because otherwise people are going to hesitate to challenge when they should. And
so Scrabble hint, pro tip. If you want to win at Scrabble, trick all of your friends. Be like, yeah, let's use the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, unabridged.
Yep.
And they'll probably be like, yeah, whatever. We don't care what dictionary. We'll just play. And then just fucking make words up. Odds are they're in there.
Yeah, I mean, I used LAZER, right?
Yeah, and I was like, Scott.
I looked up and it was like, it was like archaic something.
It was Lazar, and then Lazur was an archaic form of Lazar, and I forget the definition, but Scott had just spelled laser
There's
wrong.
no way that those are in the Scrabble dictionary. They're only in the OED because it's got every fucking word and every root of every English word imaginable.
Yep, but also
you could just write any old thing in there and you'll get a point.
If you want to win at Scrabble, you pretty much got to have a big vocabulary, but everyone assumes that's the only thing you need. That is actually the least important skill.
Memorize these very specific 2-letter words for Scrabble.
Not to every 2-letter word. There's only 26 times 26, and most of them, those aren't even words.
Yeah, you have to memorize all of the 2-letter words, and then you can win. You'll be way better at Scrabble than anybody.
All the 2-letter words, if you can, pretty much every weird 3-letter word,
and every word that has like QU. Because there's a lot of them, like QUE, right? Isn't that a word? There's all sorts of crazy things.
Well, that's the word in Spanish.
Yeah, but I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things that are words that you wouldn't realize are words, that you can score big points on. And because they're not a word that people use every day, most people would never even use them in Scrabble unless they're Scrabble players. And that's what bothers me is that Boggle is actually a game of mostly your actual vocabulary. Because it's all about speed, right?
Yep.
I don't think you can't do a 2-letter word in Boggle, I don't think. But Scrabble isn't about just your regular old everyday vocabulary and how big it is. It's also, and there's no timer either. It's mostly about, did you memorize these specific Scrabble things? So it's like, even if you're better at vocabulary, you might lose to someone who's just better at Scrabble.
Now, to be fair, a lot of games are like that. I mean, even if someone's really smart, if I've just played Puerto Rico a shit ton more than them, I am much more likely to win Puerto Rico because I know Puerto Rico specific things.
That's true.
But Scrabble, I guess, just tricks a lot of people who think, like, I used to think I never played Scrabble. I was like, oh, I have an awesome vocabulary. I'll fucking rock this game. And instead of rocking, I got wrecked.
I mean,
neither one of those words on the triple word score.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a general problem when you have a game of knowledge versus a game of skill, right? Scrabble, there's some decisions to be made in
But
Scrabble.
Isn't a vocabulary game by definition a game of skill or a game of knowledge? How many words do you know?
Well, no, because in Boggle has the skill of quickly recognizing them because the timer is involved.
I think knowing the words is equally important in that game.
It is equally important, but there is a skill factor. But Scrabble is just mostly knowledge. It's like 90% knowledge, 10% skill of picking the right spots.
But see, I wanted it. I guess my misassumption when I first played Scrabble as a kid was I assumed that it was testing just knowledge. How great is your vocabulary?
Yep.
I got wrecked because it tested these other skills I didn't think about.
Yeah.
Of course, back then, I thought Monopoly was a good game.
The other thing about Scrabble is that it does have a luck factor, which you don't think is significant because there's so many tiles in the bag and you keep drawing, but it's actually pretty significant. Someone always gets screwed with useless letters, and someone else always gets a really good word, and it's just complete luck. Whereas in Boggle, you're all looking at the same thing, so you could. You have equal chances of winning, which I think is actually makes it a little bit more fair.
Scrabble also has the mechanics of the board itself, and you've got the strategy of blocking or building out to the triple word score.
it's so obvious because the only thing you have to you basically do whatever move you can find that gets you the most points, and the only thing is
Well, no, you go in order.
The
It's
only question
Scott,
is...
it's the same strategy as Carcassonne. First, do the most for yourself. If you cannot do enough for yourself for it to matter, go down a notch and hurt someone else as much as you can.
You can't really hurt someone else in Scrabble, but what you can do is...
Yeah, you can look at their tiles and then figure out what they're going to play.
You can't look at their tiles unless you're cheating, but you can go into the spot that's the easiest to go to make it hard for anyone else to go there. And you can also say, oh, this move is 3 points less than that move, but it makes it really hard for anyone to use that triple word score, which it will otherwise be made available. So I'll do that to, make it harder for other players rather than, oh man, this move gets me a ton of points, but you know what? It puts this E right out there where anyone can get a triple word score way easy. So it actually adds up to less points in total for me,
Left, right actually matters a lot in Scrabble, too.
It does. Going first, you get the double word score right at the beginning. That's pretty good.
That's not a double word score. That's just a star.
No, that's a double word score right in the
No,
middle
it's
of the
not.
board. Yeah, it is.
It's colored the same. You're not supposed to count it like that.
Actually, you are.
Really? I read you're not.
I'm pretty sure you are.
Well, let's look it up right now. Ahem. A player begins the game by placing a word on the star square at the center of the board. The star square acts as a double word score.
I said so.
The star square does not act as a double word score for subsequent players. So you were right.
Yes, that's correct. Whoever goes first gets a free double word score. And then it's really hard to get a double word score immediately off of that. So, and if it's like a 2-player game, then that's, in a 4-player game, it actually sort of balances out, but not in a 2-player game. Going first is a pretty good advantage, depending on the tiles you initially draw, too. If you initially draw shit tiles, that could actually screw you because your first word will be like, at, or something like that,
Honestly, though, Scrabble aside, I mean, everyone knows Scrabble, but a lot of my favorite games in the genre of knowledge and words and that sort of stuff, I guess not just knowledge, because that would also include like Trivial Pursuit and all that BS.
Yeah, I don't like that.
We should do a show on that at some point, but that's way out of the scope of this.
Yeah, we're looking at word games here.
We got some obscure, or at least relatively obscure games of that ilk that I don't think many of you have played, that if you can get a hold of, they're actually pretty fun. Like Probe.
Well, Probe is this game that like my grandma had in the closet that like my mom had when she was a kid, and basically
your grandma probed you in the closet.
Probe is great for making jokes about probes. It's this really old game that I don't think has been reprinted in forever, and what it is versus Hangman, right? So you make a word, and you out of these cards, you have a deck of cards with the alphabet in it, and you make a word in a little tray, and you have to get other people's words one letter at a time, like Hangman. And you can actually use these different blank cards to trick people into thinking your word
That's the best mechanic.
The word is longer or shorter.
So say my word is anal.
Okay.
I could put up to 2 of these blanks at either in front of or behind my word.
Yep. So you put one letter in, you put one blank in front, and people say banal, and you go, fail.
Or they can get you. They can, they're trying to figure out your word, and they're like, A, and they see the A, and they're not quite sure what it is. Or they can guess, you got a blank, and they can get you that way. But then you only have to reveal one of your blanks.
Yep. It's I like Probe a lot, and I think that... Okay. I think it's really good for making jokes.
I think it is. It was published in 1964.
God damn.
We actually played this a lot at RIT.
I don't think we played it that much.
We did. There was that one. It was around after Tribes kind of died in Colony. Remember, we'd all go into separate rooms and sit on dictionary sites for like 10 minutes coming up with the craziest fucking words.
Yeah, we did that like a couple times, not a lot.
We played it a lot for a while, but then we stopped. Like, we played it a lot for like this 3-week span, and then we stopped playing it, never really played it again.
Yeah, I still have it. It's in my apartment.
We should play it.
We can definitely play it. If anyone else out there wants to, I'm sure you can find the rules on the internet pretty easily. And, to make it yourself, I mean, you don't really need, you can just take pieces of paper and make this game.
Why don't we just make this digitally? Game mechanics are fair game.
It's trivial. It's so easy to make this game. It's just versus Hangman.
I gotta code a bunch of Java shit at work.
And what you do is
I'll write this just to remember Java.
All you really need to know is the scoring mechanism, and you could probably come up with a better scoring mechanism than the official one. Probably. And then you just play multiple rounds and see who has the best score. And it's good, though, with 4 players, right? Because you have to guess against a person. You can't just guess all about.
Well, only one person on Board Game Geek is a fan of this game.
I think it'd be actually better than to do versus Wheel of Fortune than to do versus Probe.
Oh, you know what I've got laying around? I've got a board game version of Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, there's also board game Jeopardy, which I've played back in the past. I prefer video game Wheel of Fortune. The only problem with video game Wheel of Fortune is that they all have the built-in puzzles and you memorize them all. You need to actually get one where you can load up.
Mine came with a lot of puzzles and an incredibly, surprisingly complex mechanism.
Yeah, the other thing with board game Wheel of Fortune is that it's sort of like Clue, where you have to close your eyes and you put the puzzle in. Otherwise, you can't play because you just saw the puzzle. And, anyone can just look through the puzzles and then...
Oh, we should start playing again?
Mm.
SNES and NES Family Feud.
That's like the best. Oh my gosh.
There's something about the Nintendo versions of Family Feud because they're broken enough and difficult enough to try to guess what the thing's going after.
I had Junior Jeopardy on the NES, which actually I got pretty good at.
They also, because you remember, also for the fact that when you're playing Family Feud, not only is it a busted ass NES game where you're trying to type in the word on the NES, but it's from a culture that existed in the late 80s.
I mean, the only other good thing about the video game versions of the game shows is the buzzers, right? Because I remember playing board game Jeopardy and you had a clicker and you just had you would just click it and it would be like judgment call who clicked first. Whereas if you had the buzzer on the NES, you just push the A button.
See, I had an advantage in high school. I got into Quiz Bowl.
You had a turbo button?
So no, whenever I would want to play a game like that at home, I just borrow one of the Quiz Bowl boxes.
Yeah.
I just take it home. We had 8 buzzers, 4 per team, and it showed which team, which person. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have. You can make one of those in Arduino real easily.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So yeah, Probe is definitely a good one that people have not heard of, and versus Hangman is not something people think of, even though everyone's played freaking Hangman.
No, Scott, we played this game Probe about as long as we played Mahjong. It was that length of infatuation.
I think it was less.
Nah, we didn't play Mahjong that long. We got sick of Mahjong right quick. That was 3 weeks.
Mahjong is just the thing is, it's weird. It's like Jewish Lady Mahjong is probably a worse game. But it's actually sort of a better game at the same time, right? Because it's got this betting factor, but the game itself is kind of weird. But then actual Chinese Mahjong is just fucking gin rummy with a little bit extra on there. And so it's actually, it's completely almost luck.
It's
99%.
It's slightly better of a game than Michigan Rummy.
Yeah, Michigan Rummy isn't much of a game at all.
It's not a game.
But Michigan Rummy is a good sort of party thing because you get the bowls with the chips and you do all this weird stuff.
Most people only know Michigan Rummy.
It's like a good ritual.
I think they only know it through Tripoli.
I never played Tripoli.
Never played Tripoli?
No.
Tripoli was actually a really fucking dumb game.
No.
But it's really popular in the Midwest.
Was it a word game?
No. Tripoli was 3 card games that you play. First, I forget the order, but you play some card game. And then with the same cards, you play Michigan Rummy. And then in the end, you do a poker hand showdown.
Uh-huh.
And then you have chips for all 3 parts. It's dumb as shit.
Okay. But yeah, the other word game that I want to talk about that a lot of people haven't played is Upwards, which is Scrabble, except
I played
you can
the
stack.
crap out of Upwards.
I played it only a little bit because I didn't have it.
I was really good at Upwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically Scrabble, but you can stack the letters, which I think actually made it sort of better because, a lot of times in Scrabble, you might have a great word and know where to put it. But in Upwards, you could be like, hey, I found a place to put it, only if that E was actually an S instead. And you're like, oh, there we go. All good.
It did have
and it let you get a lot more creative. And, the fact that you could stack both increased the skill because you had to, when you stacked, the other word that you were stacking on top of still had to make sense. But at the same time, you had a lot more options available to you. So you could usually get a big word out there instead of always having to resort to a little word.
Of course, it had some fiddly bits. I mean, I think there's a limit on stacking up to 5 because otherwise you'd be like, put, pot, pet, put, pot, put, and then.
Yeah, I mean, if I wrote the game of Upwards, I would say, no 2 letters could be stacked in the same spot.
So I'm looking at the Board Game Geek for that. It's actually rated about similarly to Probe, but many more people have rated it.
Uh-huh.
It has a language dependence warning. Unplayable in other languages.
Yeah, try to play in Chinese. Yeah. Actually, that is kind of interesting to think about that, right? There's all these games that are games of alphabets, but they only work because we have the English alphabet.
Well, many languages use a similar alphabet or the same alphabet.
Yeah, I'm sure anyone had a Roman alphabet, but I mean, would it work in Cyrillic?
Probably. Just you have to make Cyrillic tiles.
That'd be, there is elite Scrabble tile bag you can buy.
Yeah.
I always wanted to buy that. Maybe I should.
I wonder if there's a Japanese equivalent of games like Scrabble.
I do also wonder if there is. That'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Japanese Scrabble. Because Scrabble definitely seems like such an American thing, you know?
It does.
I mean,
they're both like Hasbro, Milton Bradley kind of games.
I'd be interested. I'd be very amazed if the history of Scrabble was that it came from somewhere besides the United States.
I could have come from Britain, but it doesn't feel like it would.
I think that's very unlikely.
It feels so much like one of those like Americana games, like Uncle Wiggly.
And it's weird because on the one hand, right, you'll have like regular. It's like a game that can. Regular old people will be like either into it or not into it, but also really smart people will be into it or not into it, you know? Like people who are super board game people might not like it, but people who are super smart but not board game people might really love Scrabble.
So in
big literary types.
1938, architect Alfred Mosher Butts.
Oh man, he mashes your butts.
Created the game as a variation of an earlier game he invented called Lexico.
Lexico. I want to play Lexico.
Blah, 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 blah. There's a whole bunch of...
Lexico sounds like a robot that lives in the Futurama world.
But basically, the game that we know as Scrabble today came from James Brunot, not Butt, who was from Newtown, Connecticut.
There you go. Wow, it's close.
Yeah.
Real close.
Real close to what?
I've been there. Geographically close.
I've been to a lot of places. I mean, the land bridge, Jersey is close.
Yeah. Anyway, do we have anything else to say about wordy games? I mean, do you want to talk about like cryptograms or anything stupid like that?
Not really.
Okay.
I like games like this, but at the same time, I hate them because as a gamer who's played German board games now, I look at these games, I'm like, really? I'm going to play this? I'm going to just show off my vocabulary wang?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I have this huge love-hate relationship with these games is that, I like playing them, but I recognize they're not as good because they're knowledge games and not decision strategy games mostly.
Knowledge games are good, but they serve a very different purpose.
Yeah, and I like using letters and stuff, but I recognize that it's stupid. You have to use all these 2-letter words in the memorization. It would be much better if it was just actual real words. Not that the 2-letter words aren't real words, but if it was, testing your actual vocabulary and not some, memorized vocabulary you're never actually going to use in real life. And, it's always this like back and forth kind of thing. And I guess the thing is, I'm at least happy they exist because if you look at the shelf of crappy board games that you see at the toy store, all right, it's like you look, Monopoly is terrible and all these games are terrible, but Scrabble is like, well, it's there. It's wicked popular. You can even buy it in any old drugstore and it's actually got something to it. At least there is a game that's popular among the normal mainstream board games that isn't just crap like all the other ones that are, and that's like, okay, good. We've at least got one good game in there, that people are all about. And Apples to Apples is actually coming on pretty strong in that department as well. I've saw Apples to Apples for sale and just like the Dwayne Reed.
Yeah.
So,
however, Apples to Apples, while fun, I think is completely petered out for me. Dixit is a far superior game that achieves the same purpose.
Absolutely.
By removing the words.
But I think that Apples to Apples, could still get some play value if we had some new cards, but not that many. I'd much rather play Dixit. But
apparently,
Dixit doesn't do the party, though.
There is a Super Scrabble that Hasbro released.
Really? What's in that?
There are many international versions. Here's one in Tagalog.
What's Tagalog?
Really, Scott?
What?
Really?
I don't. What is it?
It's a language.
A language? Where do they speak it?
Scott. Really?
In Tag? I mean, there's no place called Tag.
Anyway,
you're not gonna tell me?
Super Scrabble is relatively recent, and I didn't know about it. I'm gonna look into it.
What's it got?
I'm trying to figure that out. There's no pictures on the Wikipedia page.
My parents actually had a Scrabble Deluxe edition, which if you're going to play Scrabble...
Oh, God. Okay, here's the tagline on the box. More spaces, more tiles, more points.
Okay, so it's bigger. So it's epic level.
It's just bigger with quadruple word scores.
Okay. But yeah, I really actually, what was I? So Deluxe Scrabble, right? So regular old Scrabble, which is what I have, comes in a tiny box, and it's really good because it's portable and small and cheap. But it's basically a cardboard board and just a bag of tiles, and that's it. But the Deluxe Scrabble has plastic trays to put your tiles in instead of little crappy trays, and it's got pegs to keep score with. so you don't have to write the score down on paper. And it's got a board that's on a spinning daisy kind of thing, so you can spin the board around to face whoever's playing. And by God, more board games fucking need that, because how many times do you fight over who's on the front of the board and who's sitting at the back of the board? Right, all the fucking time. So, yeah, if you're going to play Scrabble for serious, you should invest in the deluxe edition if you're going to play it a lot.
All right, Scott, Scrabble is in English, Afrikaans, Arabic, Bulgarian, Catalan, Croatian, Czech, Danish. It's in every fucking language. There's pictures of all of them.
That's pretty cool. I want to see
Hebrew.
I want to see that. That'd be pretty interesting.
I'm looking for the Japanese one.
Yeah, it would work really well in Hebrew.
I don't know if it would work for Japanese at all.
I'm sure it would, just like hiraganas or whatever.
There appears to not be a Japanese version.
Oh, shit. What about, I'm sure that, there's some languages it works and some it doesn't, right?
No,
like, how would it work in Korean, right? Because you got to combine the
Maybe if they had transparencies, like cells, like upwards, and you have to form the characters like that.
Maybe they have a different game that is sort of the same, but not because...
Well, like the Nipul game that we learned about from Attack the Gas Station.
Exactly. If they have like a different game that's their equivalent of Scrabble for their alphabet, and maybe we could adapt that game to English somehow. I don't know.
So, Scott, you really not know where Tagalog is spoken? Do you know anything about it?
I know nothing about it. I've never heard of it.
You never even read, like, I don't know, Cryptonomicon?
Nope.
No? You've never read that?
No.
Oh, all right. It's Filipino.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How about that?
There you go.
There you go.
You can use that word the next time you play Scrabble.
What does it sound like?
I have no idea what Tagalog sounds like.
Okay, check it out on YouTube.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.